for me and Mrs. Tudor and several of us at Hiles Anderson College for many, many years, and she did a lot of taking me on trips, and we were just talking about some of those trips. There's some people that maybe, I'm sure there's people I like a whole lot better. Oh, no. But there's some people you just feel real comfortable with, tell them do this, do that, Well, of course, she was a little kid at school and grew up with us. And so I feel real comfortable with her helping me. We were just talking about the first time that our family went to New Guinea. And when they did go, my first little grandson, who's now 14, was 7 months old. And she remembers my husband and I getting back into the van after we let them off. And what we had left were the winter coats and the snowsuit. Because in Chicago, they had to wear their heavy clothing to the airport, but they would never need it again for years. And they'd be out, the kid would outgrow it and everything. And there I came back with a snowsuit, And she remembers that my husband and I had planned to go to a Cracker Barrel because we usually try to plan something fun, rather than sit and cry after a time like that, So we've had those kinds of times together, and that's just one of them. And so it's been nice to have her. It's nice to have Mrs. Goddard back there, one of our kids from school too, gone on trips with us for Christian Womanhood. And did you see your picture in the relationships book? Okay, I just wanted to be sure you saw it. Okay, you want to come up here and tell me what to do? No, this is fine. Okay, Angie, come on up and we'll give you Home is a Healing Place. Is on the side of this Bible, and I hope that is wherever your home is or whatever your home. Where am I? Here we are. And come over here by me, honey, a little bit more so I can look you in the eyes and give this to you. And smile like you're happy. Thank you, honey. Thank you very much. Okay, we're going to get another one, I think. Okay? Anyone else? I think we're celebrities. So we thank you all for everything you've done. Everything's been so comfortable for me. It hasn't even seemed like a wearing meeting for me at all, because you've made it easy for me to speak you've given me your attention. I haven't had to work for it. And you've made it easy for me and been receptive to what I have said, so that's not been difficult. And then, of course, the people here at the church have made it very, very easy for me and given me a lot of comfort type things that have helped me to make this an enjoyable time. So some people feel like it might be really, really hard for us to come out like we left yesterday morning. We go back tonight, and we'll be in our church, the Lord willing, tomorrow morning. And we'll be home late, about 12 o'clock tonight. But actually, I've been able to rest a lot, and the Lord's been really good to already. We know that we have a first-class ticket going back, which gives me a lot of room. And because I'm not a tiny person, that helps a lot for me to get back rested. I have the mileage to where if we can get a first-class seat, we're able to, but we have to stay on standby for that. So I don't see us as getting back too terribly tired, and that helps so very much. My husband left this morning to go to the Dayton, Ohio area to be with graduates in their church at Miamisburg, Ohio. And he, just for you who know him and love him, he said to tell you, and especially he said to tell you folks, he loves you, misses you. He loves to be with the graduates and hear about the graduates and what they're doing. That's such a big thing for us. We've been at the college 28 years, and it's really something for us to see now. People go out and do some of the wonderful work that they're doing for the Lord and know that we had some part in it. Not so many teachers did, and certainly our preacher and our preacher's wife and the church and so many people. But we did have some part in it, and we are so thankful for that. This last spectacular at Hiles Anderson College and First Baptist Church at the church, October 11th, 12th, and 13th, I had no idea whether I could be there or not, and had planned all year as if I were not going to be there. And I've already started the next one that way too, because you don't know whether or not you'll be in treatment or what. And about up until 4 days before the spectacular, it certainly looked like I wouldn't even be attending, and I had complete peace about it, because people who had been in our classes in our college were all ready to do such wonderful things. It was just packed full of great things because they wanted to make it. It was more like I would have wanted it than if I'd have had time to do more of it myself, because even in my healthiest days I'd get tired and couldn't make it just exactly like I had hoped it would be, clear up to the last. And as it was, our graduates, our people from Hyles-Anderson College, just made happen what I had told them I wanted to happen. And so I'm starting to do that for one more year, and that's all you can do is 1 year at a time or one step at a time. That's all you can do. I don't know what will ever happen, if I can't get to the point, if something happens that I cannot do it. But as long as I still am able to start thinking about it, we're doing next year the theme, It's a Party. I am terribly burdened about our need for fun. I feel as if we're so serious that we're almost, look like we've been out selling dill pickles. It seems as if, we're just so terribly down in the mouth. And we're not, our child rearing is not with fun. Our marriage is not with fun. Our church work is not with fun. There's just not much fun. And as I said, it almost seems as if people feel like they need to be missionaries to those who want some fun. Now, I don't mean it has to be a certain type. I like a certain type of fun you wouldn't like maybe at all. But your type of fun, whatever that might be. And I think we're pretty stale people if we don't get some fun. And it's just burdens me about that. And so there'll be a lot of teaching. I'm known as a party person. I like to have parties, but and I used to think a little bit about, well, everything I do, I want to turn it into a party. And I used to kind of feel bad about that, and feel like I needed to defend it. Now I feel like I'd better teach it. Because I noticed that when a few of us go out and we're working together and we start partying a little bit along with it, better ideas come out than if we're just constantly serious all the time. And if there's a chance at all to make a little bit of a festive occasion, make it. The other day I was with somebody. They said, "Now, what are you celebrating?" We said, just being here together. I mean, there's a lot to celebrate. When you're a Christian on your way to heaven, and He'll never leave you nor forsake you while you live, there's an awful lot to celebrate every day of the year. And I don't care how serious the thing is you might be going through. This last time I was in the hospital just before the spectacular, well, my pulse was going up to like 200. You didn't tell them that, did you? If I just moved my hand or something, it would go up to 200. So I was just sitting, hoping not to have a heart attack, And it was because of a complication from chemo. Since I've had 4 regimens of it, I am having complications, of course, from that. And my nerve endings are damaged, is causing things like automatic things aren't automatic anymore. So blood pressure may be down to 0 and it may be up to 200. And it was going this time up to 200. And if I just moved my hand, and then they took the blood pressure, it was pretty bad. And so I knew that Mayo Clinic, 6 hours and 15 minutes away, knew my case is for 27 years, and I was afraid to go anyplace but where they did know it, because it's a little complicated. And so I got in the car with a couple of drivers, and I got in the car in my robe, and we stopped at one place to go to the bathroom. I put a raincoat on over it, and I got there at 6 hours and 15 minutes and was in the emergency room at Mayo Clinic's hospital in Rochester, Minnesota. And they saw me only bald because I've got a little hair growing back in the last 2 weeks. It's got a little bit of hair. I feel so good. I like to rub my head. But anyway, I didn't have my wig on because I was having trouble there, and it was, I had a lot of perspiration on my head because of what I was going through and everything. I didn't have my wig on. I didn't use my hands because the crash cart would show if I just did that. It would just go, crazy. And so I didn't have my makeup on because I didn't have the effort to put it on, didn't want anybody to put it on, didn't have any jewelry on, didn't have, just had a robe on. Then you put those hospital gowns, and everything. And I'm lying there in the hospital room then, and they're watching me on video. What a time to be videoed, 24 hours a day, videoed. And they gave me medicine that each day. After 3 days, I was pretty stable. And so they took me off the monitor and everything, and I went down to the nurse's station, walked down there, and I had put on my wig and some jewelry and makeup, and I went down there, and they said, "Have you come to see Mrs. Evans?" They'd been in and out of my room all day, and I said, "I am Mrs. Evans." And I laughed, and that was a serious situation. But what does it help to, not laugh? I got so tickled over that, cause what they were saying is, "You look terrible in there," and I knew it. They were so embarrassed, and I just let them be embarrassed because I thought I was embarrassed too, so just let them be embarrassed. We want our children to be princesses and princes, don't we? That's what we really want. We want them to act. I used to hear as a child about a man, he's a prince of a man. It meant he was balanced, he was gentle, he was kind, he was a hard worker, he was all these things. Honest, all of these wonderful things. And they'd say about several men in our community, he's a prince of a man. That's what we want our children to be. That doesn't mean we want them to be highfalutin, high muckety-muck royalty. It means we want them to be good people. How is that going to happen? Kids are not just dropped down on us bad or good. We're all bad. We all come out of the womb sinful, right? So all kids are bad. All kids need tempering. All kids need help. Like we all still need help. What I'm going to say about children, we actually could do for ourselves too, to help ourselves become more tempered in some of the areas in which we're having trouble, or have always had trouble. We may have to work at it the rest of our lives, but there are ways to work at it. I know 3 families where the children in all 3 families are extremely obedient, happy, well-adjusted, balanced children. 3. I know 3. There are others that are pretty good, but these 3 families really have what all of those that I just now said. I don't know what they're going to end up being. I have no idea, but today, as of today, one family has 3, another family has 3, and another family has 2. And the children are from 2, and all 3, 6, 8 of them, they are from 2 years old to 14 years old. So that's the age groups of them. And talking with those families, I find that people come up to them and say, "You surely are fortunate to have children like these," as they watch them obey so beautifully out in public. No, those families aren't fortunate. Those families have worked themselves to death. In one case, an aunt said to one of the mothers, about the first child, and the first child was so beautifully mannered, and all boy too. A lot of people go, all boy, so that means he can be a mess, that type of thing. They had tempered and worked with him, and she said, "I don't know if you'll get another one like that." No, they won't, because they didn't get that one. Good marriages aren't dropped on you. People, that's what people think, I believe, and so they're trying to marry enough times until finally they find the one that's dropped on them. Just something dropped from heaven. It's all perfect. You don't have to do anything. Wouldn't that be great? Believe me, I think that'd be wonderful, but it doesn't happen. Good children aren't dropped on you. Even the children you think are easily trained, more easily trained, and seem as if they are better children, a lot of times they're only quieter children. They go underground with their stuff, their junk, because they're still sinners and they're not perfect, and in fact it scares me to death to see quieter children. Sunday school teachers, grandparents, everybody likes that quiet child and has no idea what that quiet child's needs are. And I'm afraid to death that they're going to, as they get older, explode because somehow they're not able to get out their needs. A quiet child's a sinner. A loud child's a sinner. All children are sinners. And it's up to us to see that, and you are sitting here saying, boy, we don't go to these meetings to try to make people just feel bad. Some of us are saying, oh, we wish we'd have done something differently, and we're stuck on that. And our kids could be happier, having better, fulfilled, richer lives if we didn't know. Going back there where you can do, there's nothing you can do, forget it. If you have a child who is a mature child, not living for the Lord, mature in age though, and unhappy, unfulfilled, figure out what you can do now. Can you get them a nice Thanksgiving card and don't put a tract in it? Especially if they know they've already been saved, or they've come up in the church and they've turned on the church and they know the plan of salvation, have given it to people, and all this. Just be happy with, just accept them where they are right now. Leave the light on. Leave the white sheet out. That they used to talk about the story about a boy not living for the Lord, and he wanted to come home, and he said, if you want me, I'll be on a train, and if you'll put a white sheet out on a tree, then I'll know to stop and come into the house. And there were white sheets. He told the person by him, look, will you, because I can't stand to look. And they said there's white sheets everywhere. Have white sheets everywhere. Let that child know, that adult child, that there's some place that you still care about him. He may not be able to come to your house and drink, or you may not join him in some of the things he's doing, but that you still care about him and that you still love him. Do what you can do now, since that child's an adult child. Don't go back and get stuck in what you didn't do. None of what any of us have said today, and what anybody says today, is to make somebody feel bad for what they didn't do. In the book, Marriage Without Divorce, in several chapters I put, if you are divorced, don't read this. Because you've already been divorced. Maybe your former husband's already remarried. Why go back and say, I could have done? That's not what anything that we're saying or doing is for. And to make somebody just feel bad is not at all what we're trying to do. What can you do now with the life you have left to live? What can you do with your children? You say, my children are already out of control. I don't know what to do with them. I'm just glad to be away from them today. And by the way, I don't mean that you're not glad to be away from them, even if they're obedient and good. Because we do need breaks. And we're refreshed to go back and enjoy them all over again. Some people say, I never had a babysitter. Never in my life did I have a babysitter. They went every place I went. And I think, good night, what was she like? Well, how did she act toward other people? Because, that's taking a 24-hour job and never being away from it. And they almost act like, well, if they do get a babysitter, that shows they don't love their children or take a break. No, it shows you love them and want to come back to them refreshed. So even if they're obedient, good children, we don't take that overboard and spend 5 weeks away from them, every 6 months or something. But once in a while to get some way that you can have some time that you just get to do what you want to do. Oh, I wish mothers who mother about the same way could barter with each other, to where one plans for the kids one half a day and next week the other plans for the kids a half a day, and a mother gets to go off and do what she wants half a day. Whether it's to get back in bed in her own home, or to clean the house, or go shopping, or whatever it is. Sometimes you just like to clean the house without anybody else being there, and just get it done, whatever you might want to do. But when I ask people, can they do this? They go, no, I don't know anybody. Somehow we are not a network of women working together to help everybody do the best they possibly can with their children. Of course, we know Proverbs 22:6 says, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. Do you know that train doesn't mean spank? It might be a part of it. But spanking you're supposed to do, but that we're told that in another place. But train is different from yelling at, screaming at, spanking, lecturing, or any of this. Training is directing growth. And somehow we seem to feel as if, oh, you got a sissy boy. Well, there's nothing we can do about it. We just happen to get a sissy boy. People, two of the things about a sissy boy, and then, that I'm afraid even causes them to go ahead and become queers, is just two little things. This instead of that, and little mincy steps. I've known my husband to be out in front of his office in the hallway at Hyles Anderson College, and he has a farmer's walk. He grew up as a farmer. I don't know whether they want his walk or not, but it sure is better than the little mincy steps. Out walking with a boy in the hallway when school was out, walking with a boy, showing how to take long loping steps. Not every boy has to take long loping steps, but if he's taking little mincy steps, it'd be better to take long loping steps. Two things. The very people who are all upset about a kid dropped on them, Sunday school, wherever, and even are a part of making fun of them, by the way, are the people who could say, stay after Sunday school, let me see, and could say, now here's what women do. You know, and like a woman, like if I'm here, and well, I am here, but if I'm here and I really had some trouble with you all, you were just a bad crowd, you know, I might use this, ladies, please. I might use that on purpose. Because it's a more masculine, more direct, and I know the whole world would make fun of me, but I don't care what the world will do, because the world's crazy. And everything they're saying and doing, none of it's working. When our kids don't have to, but sit and look at regular news and hear about the DNA being tested off of a dress from the Oval Office, and then still it's okay for him to be in office. We've got a crazy world. We've got a really stupid, so why should I worry about what they say about me? Or what we're all alike. No, we're not alike. Women and men are not alike, no matter how much we try to make them alike. We're not alike. We're not made the same way, but those reproductive systems are unbelievably intricate. Unbelievably intricate. Beautiful. But also have to be really dealt with and cared for. You have a lot of your months of your life and years of your life in a mess if you don't spend a lot of time figuring out, okay, now this is what's happening to me now, and figuring out, going to a doctor till you find one who will help you, or if you can't find a doctor, going to a health food store till there's someone who really knows how they can direct you there, and then within a year you have probably different symptoms, and you have to take care of them. We're beautifully made, and we're not men. We can't lift things and that men can lift. At O'Hare, I saw the tiniest little guy, fragile, lifting these great old big boxes that I had, I think, for West Virginia. And here I am coming along about twice his size, and he's lifting them with no problem at all. Oh, it was a balloon. Okay, back there, straighten up. Can't stand to have those balloons around here. No, you can do whatever you want here, okay? It wasn't your fault anyway, right? So we need to direct growth. And how can we do it? You get a tomboy type girl. I was one, and I guess you could probably tell I've worked out of it a little bit, but I'll never be ultra feminine. When I try to be, people ask, "Are you okay?" Because that's not who I am. But I sure have tried to add to my life, and not be a tomboy type woman, and that. But don't you? I've got a shy one. I've got a loud one. I got one that's all boy. I got whatever, or maybe someone who is so feminine they're sickening. Those little girls who can't do anything, they gotta sit real still, and they can never do anything. They might get dirty, and you've got one of those, There's all kinds of things that and there's no use to say, this is the way it is. We need to figure out how to help them, not change them, but add to them, direct their growth, not take them from here to there, but more take them from here to here, little bit at a time, and let's see how we can do it. Isaiah 30:20 and 21 says, "And though the Lord give you the bread of adversity and the water of affliction, yet shall not thy teachers be removed into a corner any more, but thine eyes shall see thy teachers." People, your kids will see, and your Sunday school kids, and your nieces and nephews, and your grandchildren, they will see you, whether you're still alive or not still alive, or around them or not. "And thine ears shall hear a word behind thee saying, This is the way, walk ye in it. When you turn to the right hand and when you turn to the left." Don't you know that Sunday school teacher of mine, Mrs. Holbrook, it talks to me over my shoulder all the time. I start to spout out some stupid thing, and I think, nope, need to adjust that a little bit. Adjust what I'm saying a little bit. Because my teacher, who's been gone to be with the Lord for years, is still talking over my shoulder. Isn't that something? She's behind me. And you can be remembered forever and ever, because your children with whom you work, whether they're your own or in some other, we ought to all have children in our lives. I do. I sure don't want to, I don't want to be around all old people. I don't mind being around some, but not all. I need children, and they need me. And children need you too, and you need children. And they're going to hear you. You think they don't hear anything, but you remember yourself. Don't you remember things that folks thought you would never, ever, that you weren't even taken in, and you still remember it? We want to make sure that they're characterized by some of these things. For instance, quitting. Do you have one that's a quitter? In Sunday school, wherever. One who just seems to quit everything before he gets started. Be sure it's a problem. Loretta was telling me about her daughter quitting about something. And I said, "Loretta, is that a problem with her?" And she said, "No, it's not a pattern problem." I said, "Then why don't you just let that one go?" People, we've got to choose our battles, especially as they get up there 12, 13, 14 years of age. We can't just constantly be on them for everything. And I often, as much as I like to read, I'll start a book and then start another one and keep several going at once. My husband does that, and I guess I got it from him. I don't know. We both love to read. We've got books all over the house. And I don't know that they're practically taken over. They're reproducing in the library, I think. But I think that if that's not a problem, I don't quit most things. I've had the Christian Womanhood paper for going on 26 years now, every month. That's not a quitter. I've been at the same place working for 28 years. That's not a quitter. I've taken 4 regimens of chemotherapy and taken every one of those shots, no matter how I felt. That's not a quitter. I'm not a quitter. So why worry about my quitting on a book and starting another book if it's not keeping my interest? So be sure it is a pattern problem before you start working with it. If it's not a pattern problem, don't worry about it. What if it's lying? Now, some kids exaggerate the truth. They actually see things bigger than they are. I have been a liar. I really think in one case as a kindergarten kid, when I said to people, and we lived in a tiny town in Nebraska, very tiny, and I doubt there were 90 kids in the school. And when I had a birthday party in kindergarten, I told people there were 90 kids at our house. Well, the house was tiny, and the town was tiny, and the school was tiny, and there were not 90 kids. There might have been 9, but I felt as if I'd never had 9 in my house before, and I really believe I feel things bigger than they are. My dad went to be with the Lord 2 years ago this coming, for the last day of this month. And I used to call him and check my stories with him because I didn't trust whether I saw things bigger. Knowing yourself. if they're a complaining kid. I didn't get to do. I never get what I want. Something like that. If they say I never get what I want, say, when we face it, help them face it. Last week, when we did such and such, what did you get to do? Now, was that what you wanted to do? Did you choose that? Then is that true that you never get to do what you want to do? And help them see that they sometimes get to do what they want to do. About 25 times a day, in fact. But now just quit saying that. And giving them a big old lecture will not help. People, it won't. Is it helping you? Did it ever help you? It just won't do it. I know some people say, I can't stand a powder. Do you know what? We are all powders when we show, P-O-U-T-E-R-S, pouters, when we show in any way that we're displeased with just the average living, I mean. We all are powders. What if you said to a kid when he's pouting, I feel bad that you're having such a hard time. What could we do to get that smile back on your face? I'd like to see you happy. Do you know most of them are not going to say, take me to Disney World? Most of them, it's pretty simple. I've asked girls all over to tell me what they most like to do with their mother. One of them just recently said, what I most liked that my mother ever did for me was take off of work when I was sick at home, and she went and got crackers for me. And that's pretty typical of their best memories with their mothers. They're not as greedy as we act like they are. They just want us, and they want us to care about them. And they might find, that we find that if we did something they want us to do, that's just us getting some crackers, that we'd make a memory that would be beyond a Disney World experience, or out here Disneyland, I guess. What about back talk? People, sometimes I say some pretty harsh things, and I really don't mean to say it that way. I'm not even feeling that bad about it. It just comes out wrong. I've heard that stuff too much. And it just comes out of me. And I've been saying to myself, and you've been hearing me say to myself, how could I say that? Let me rephrase that. Let me rephrase that. And we need to start rephrasing some things. So our children also, and you could help a child say, now how could you say that differently? We need to let them express themselves. But how they express themselves, all that stuff about let them say whatever they want to say in any way they want to say it is just plain wrong. But we go the other way and sometimes don't know a thing what's bothering them. And everybody else knows, but we don't, because they know they better not tell Mom, because Mom will have a fit. And we'd better be knowing what they're thinking. But letting them know helping them know how to tell you. What about if they're just fearful? They wouldn't leave you at the nursery without it happily ever, or a Sunday school class. Maybe you need to make time to be away from that child for very short periods of time. And show back up right away so they get a sense of trust in you. And that after church, you don't come in the nursery with them and wreck the nursery and the nursery workers, but you leave them and they're yelling and screaming. The nursery worker gets them, or the Sunday school teacher gets them calmed down. But boy, be on the back row and be back there, the first parent back there, till you've built up a sense of trust instead of, I just wish I didn't have a fearful child. I never was fearful. How come my child has to be fearful? My other kids weren't fearful. Folks, kids are going to be all different because they come from different sets of grandparents and different parts of the family, and they are going to be different. It's exciting if we accept it that way. What about an older teen who is fearful? Teacher, she might be left alone, like she might be left alone in an activity and nobody'd come up to her and be with her. Get her ready to find someone else who seems to be alone and become a friend to them. Help her know what to do if she's left alone. and not a friend, no one, not a friend with anybody. What about a girl who is too boyish? Don't put her in frills. It's too much. And I mean, we think of, we'll frill them up and lace them up and, put all these jewelry and stuff on them, and they hate it. And it makes them all the more want to go toward boy things. Promote girl clothes and promote some of that girl interests. But don't go completely over here and stuff you don't want to wear either yourself. There's only a few people who look good in frills and lace and all that kind of stuff. And so you don't have to go that way. Don't go so far because you feel embarrassed. What about the person who doesn't follow instructions? I know a girl in junior high who I was with her last Christmas. She and her family were helping me get things for the riders who are home from the mission field for Christmas. And I asked her to go get something across the store in Walmart. And she came back with several other things, but not the thing I asked her to get me. She came because she thought that maybe I'd like to see these other things because she thought they would be good for my family. So now her mother, I talked her mother that she's having in school. She's having trouble, and they're saying the same types of things. She won't follow instructions. So now her mother's going to Walmart quite often, sending her across the store for one thing. If she doesn't bring it back, she asks her to go again. And then after she learns to go get one thing and only that one thing, then they'll learn to go get two things. We were out riding bicycles a year ago, August. And how old would your youngest have been then? 5. And he would not follow the leader. And that was pretty dangerous because there were a bunch of us, in line. Her husband was the leader and he wasn't going to follow her husband, and that wasn't going to work at all. And we all got back to the house. And the next thing I knew, without anybody saying a thing, Loretta was on a little kid's bike. Why were you on that little kid's bike? I don't even remember. There you were on a little kid's bike out there with him behind you, teaching him to follow the leader. She didn't say anything. She didn't spank him. She didn't do anything. They went out and she went out and taught him to follow the leader on a bicycle. I just don't see this happening. This directing of growth like this. I want you to have princes. I want you to have princesses. I want us to have them in our churches. Little kids that come in on bus routes they haven't even had a spanking. They haven't even had any kind of anything. I want us to be patient and kind and loving and temper them. I want you to have them in your Sunday school class. I want you to have them on your church bus route. I want you to have them in your home. I want you to have them with your grandchildren, your nieces and nephews, your neighbor kids. People were needed. Were needed so badly that I think I would say again, I think I would, full code. I'm pretty important. I can help some kids. What about you? Full code? Could you help some kids? Heavenly Father, I pray that you'll help these ladies. I pray, God, you'll help us all. Help us with our own lives, that we'll work on our own selves and just be patient with ourselves and just become tempered in our weaknesses. And help us help us to love children and teenagers. God, they need us so badly. I know they do. Help us to love them and show it. And help us to not be impatient with them. And I pray that you'll bless this group for being so good and kind and receptive to me. In Jesus' name.